Junkie Media would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people who for centuries have cared for and nurtured the Redfern area of Sydney, where we've recorded this podcast. It's an honour to work and create every day on unceded Gadigal land here in Redfern, the birthplace of the First Nations civil rights movement in Australia. This episode of Little Things has been made possible thanks to Bank Australia. As a Bank Australia girl, I love that my stunning new bank card is made from 100% recycled plastic, with 64% collected from coastal communities by Parley for the Oceans. It's a small, practical step in the right direction for our oceans. Come join me. Come be a Bank Australia girl right now.
You look pretty.
Oh,
that's
you look
nice.
lovely as well. Thank you. I love the validation. We all validate each other in this room, whether it's woos, compliments.
Compliments.
Yeah. We got to take it. All right, whenever you're ready, guys.
3, 2, 1.
Woo!
Not focusing much on the end result and enjoying the process.
From optimizing how we sleep to literally everything we do when we're awake, the way that we care for ourselves has become both a daily practice and a cultural phenomenon. I'm Alice Griffin, and this is Little Things, where we navigate the noise of the self-care economy. This episode, I'm with multidisciplinary environmental artist Swapna Namboodiri. Swapna transforms discarded materials into compelling visual narratives that challenge perceptions of value and waste and show us how to see beauty even in the most useless of little things. It's in her works like the Aquarium of Tomorrow, commissioned by Bank Australia, that Swapna reveals to us the vast impact of consumption in our world. And no industry is commodified quite like the wellness industry. Truly, no one grifts harder than a company spruiking well-being bath bombs, but sadly, we all know that hitting add to cart just won't hold the keys to our personal fulfillment. So where did the commodification of self-care really start? How do we get from Audre Lorde's quote on self-care being an act of political warfare to face tape? And how does loving some self-care products and being mindful about the ways to truly care for yourself coexist in 2025? Today, Swapna and I are getting into it all. The commodification of self-care, how we can reclaim what it means to truly care for ourselves, those around us, and the planet. And of course, we'll be discussing why Swapna's little things are actually the big things. Hi.
Hi, Alice.
Thanks so much for coming on. We're so excited to have you on the pod.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
So I guess where I wanted to start with you is your life and your creative influences as an artist. I'd love to understand what drew you to art originally.
That's a lovely question. I think that was part of my self-care because I was trained as an engineer and I was working as a software engineer. For almost 6 years. And I completely did not understand what I was doing. And as part of my self-care routine back then, I didn't know this term even. So I would come back from my office time and would sit and paint. So I knew I was creative. As a child, I was just draw or create with whatever is lying around. And maybe it's a pencil or crayon or anything. And while I was working, I would come back and this maybe half an hour or 1 hour evening session would be like the most calming time ever. And that is when I really started spending time for my creative self and started exploring more and started understanding how much I valued that time. Yeah.
And you're a full-time artist now.
Yes.
So how did you make the transition from what would have been like quite a stable career and obviously quite a very different to your creative side? How did you go from that world in engineering to becoming a full-time artist?
It was a long one.
Yeah.
Not so easy one, but I wouldn't trade for anything. When I became mom, and when my baby was growing up and when she turned 1 year, I noticed that I was struggling a lot, juggling all these roles because I had full-time work and I was working for a US-based client. And the working time had to be stretched. Even though I was clocking 9 hours at the office physically, I would come back and might be attending calls and the baby would be crying. And by the time I was back from office, she would be going to bed. And then I wanted somehow to squeeze in some painting or creative time as well. And thankfully, my husband was so understanding that we mutually decided, okay, now one person would be working and one can take after baby, and let me just go back after a while. So we decided that I would take a small break. But by the time I knew I wouldn't be going
really,
back.
as part of the negotiations with your husband, you're like, I'm never going back.
No, I knew that. And then but I started practicing art more seriously. I would go around, explore all the galleries, meet new friends, new artists. It was a learning curve for me because I wasn't trained in arts. But then small steps at a time, I started practicing. And by the time I had found my voice of expressing my art ideas through this unconventional materials. So, and it was relevant and people could easily connect to what I was trying to say. So everything fell in place then.
Things do tend to work out, I think, if you trust the process and follow what it is you really kind of want to do in your inner voice, which obviously it sounds like you did. What is your favorite part about being an artist?
It would be getting to play with all the exciting things on a daily basis. It's never boring, and it's the most amazing feeling to get to do what you love the most. So,
do you ever get stressed when you're starting with a blank, not even a blank canvas, a blank like box of plastic, and you're like, what am I gonna create? What am I gonna make? Is that like the most fun part or the most intimidating part?
Intimidating one.
Yeah, okay.
80% of the time, if I'm not creating any collection for myself, or if I'm not starting for myself or any idea, if it's a commission project, definitely, because of so many reasons, because it would be intimidating, especially at the first phase of conceptualizing that thing and until it gets started.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that gives you that kind of push to just get going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone once said to me that action leads to motivation, and it kind of changed my whole world, because I was like, here I am sitting around waiting to be motivated enough to go for a walk. And it's like, if I just like get in the car and then if I just step out and go do something, I'm already doing it then. So instead of just waiting for inspiration to strike, just starting, and you can always go back and change it if you don't like whatever it is you're creating.
Not focusing much on the end result and just being at that moment and enjoying the process. When I was in the early stages of creating artwork, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know if I was doing in the right way. I was just focusing on my creative practice. All the achievements that became a bonus, and you start being so grateful for everything that comes in your path, and you still become grounded and focused in your practice along the way.
What drew you to those different kind of materials and upcycling and looking at waste and discarded items? Why was that the motivation, and how did that inform your art?
Working with plastic just started out of curiosity. I didn't purposefully start this as transforming this material into artwork. I saw that I was hoarding this material for a while and was planning to experiment something with that. And then I started learning more about plastics and more about the potential or flexibility, how I can convert into artworks, how well I could manipulate but still keep it as raw as possible. Things like that I learned gradually and then developed from there.
Obviously, there's loads of different mediums you could still explore in, but you continue to focus on discarded materials. I'm curious as to why.
I don't know. I feel so much potential and beauty in such materials. I feel that those material has a lot more to say and a lot more to express, and there is some kind of story related to each of the materials that we are discarding. Living back in India and my childhood has a lot to contribute in that, I believe, because upcycling and eco-conscious lifestyle was so much part of her lifestyle at that time. Because I come from southern part of India, and we see a lot of things made with whatever is around us. One basic example would be the rope that you get. It would be made from the coir that would be created from the coconut husk. And it is used everywhere. It can be used as a rug, it can be used as a fabric, it can be used as a curtain, and it's all just one material. That's the most commonly seen in the Kerala landscape. That is the coconut trees. Even passing down the clothes that we wear, even though it is not upcycling, I've seen my mom taking the fabric that has been used as something else. It can be turned into something for us, for myself and my sister. So it was all part of the lifestyle back then. And even certain techniques that I follow right now, that is wrapping around the plastics with the fabrics. I've seen my mom doing that when she was going through a very hard time in her life, losing her son. When I was just 6 years, I've seen she was passing through that grief, doing these creative things. And that technique somehow was still deep in me. All those things are coming from my memories.
It's like muscle memory as well, that you pick it back up.
Right.
A lot of the concepts that we're talking about on Little Things come from a Western perspective, but I'd love to hear, are there any cultural practices from back home that you bring through to your self-care now?
That's interesting as well. I think yes. A couple of things that I could quickly take is, one would be oil bath.
Yeah.
I see it has been romanticized or aesthetically visualized in so many ways, but it has been there with us since a very long time. We take oil bath, oil massages with coconut oil and different oils. So it has been part of us since very long time. And it was done intentionally for me, even though I didn't enjoy when I was a child and growing up, because my mom used to make me sit there and give me that head massage. And we would, instead of, at that time, we didn't have shampoos or conditioner. We would use there is a leaf that we crush, and that will be used as a conditioner. And oil bath would be the ultimate one. And one more thing is, we often use incense sticks as part of our praying ritual or meditation, and it just calms down. Lighting, instead of candles, we have another vessel. We lighting up and praying and being in that time after sunset, in that calm mode of slowing down and winding up the day, showing gratitude. All those are still part of this self-care routine for us.
For you now.
Yes,
and now hopefully I might try. I want to try an oil bath for sure. That
oil
sounds
bath,
amazing.
it just relaxes you, and it's the best thing.
Yeah.
Yes, wind up
Lucky
your day.
you getting a massage as a kid, by the way.
Oh, yes, it was part of a routine.
I love that. I would have loved that.
I didn't know it was going to be, now I would crave for my mom to do that. Yes.
Yeah. You got to bring that one back.
Yes.
Yeah. You're using these plastic materials, and you're using these materials in your own life and then saving them later for art and reinterpreting them. How has working with these materials changed the way that you understand all the waste that we have in the world?
It's scary.
Yeah.
The more you learn or experience and literally see those waste, it is a bit scary, because that is when we get to see these many things has been used and has been discarded. It might have ended up somewhere else in some other form, but unfortunately it's all ending up in the landfill, and nobody knows where it's going. So especially for this recent project for Aquarium of Tomorrow, I explored many recycling centers, and I would see all sorts of material that we could imagine.
Talk to me about being commissioned by Bank Australia to work on the Aquarium of Tomorrow, how were you approached and what was the process like?
That was such a milestone project for me, and it's very close to my heart. Coming together with Bank Australia and Pali for Oceans and the artwork, it was just that's the best thing. So many people working towards the same goal and bringing together such a brilliant initiative. That's the best example that an organization with such ethical practices can showcase, and that can resonate very well with so many people. You could just stare at the artwork and could see how our ocean could turn, like how much plastic could end up there if we don't act or if we don't take small steps right now. So that is a concept. All the marine structures or all the marine creatures has been reimagined or has been created using all sorts of discarded plastics that has been collected. It took me a couple of months to source all those plastics. When you start working with the material and when you start all these materials around you, it can get overwhelming where to start and how to get in the structure.
Which is kind of like, the environmental crisis that we're in is like where to even begin.
Absolutely.
So it's funny that is representative in your work and in your process as well, as like, how can I make a small difference?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Through my practice, I've always tried to focus on the message of coral reef and coral bleaching and ocean life. So most of my collection of artworks has that focus on ocean lives. But in this scale and working only on the hard plastics was the first time for me for the Aquarium of Tomorrow. And working on this scale again made me realize that we have that much plastic waste.
Yeah.
And not in the near future we are going to run short of those plastic waste.
Yeah.
So we need to work hard and come together as a community and work more on reducing plastics. That is exactly the message that I'm trying to portray through the aquarium itself, because it's such a big structure that people could just stand there, take time, pause and reflect about your own plastic usage. And the funny part is I've used so many materials in the structure, and people could literally stand there and spot different tiny things, and they could relate to that as well. It's the materials
They'd be like, there's my toothbrush.
Yes.
An important part of self-care I've been mulling on lately is making decisions that line up with my personal values in every area of my life, including who I bank with. If you're like me and are inspired to make sure you're living your values across the little and big things, my number one rec is to look into banking with Bank Australia, a certified B Corp bank that is truly the best ever. As someone who values being environmentally conscious, I was so excited to get my hands on one of their stunning new bank cards. The card body is made from 100% recycled plastic with 64% collected from coastal communities by Pali for the Oceans. It's this commitment to a small step in the right direction for our oceans that makes me so pleased to be a Bank Australia girl now. It's actually surprisingly easy to sign up to Bank Australia. It legit took me 5 minutes to get started and finally align my values with a really iconic bank. So come join me and make the switch to Bank Australia right now. We've been speaking a lot about your relationship with waste, and an area that we explore on this podcast is obviously self-care and wellness, an area that has a lot of products associated with it. Use this light and it'll help you sleep. Use this face tape and it'll help you sleep. Use this face tape and it'll change your face. Like, there's just so many different products touted across the industry around wellness. It is such a huge industry that's only gotten so much bigger since COVID. And I kind of wanted to understand how we got from self-care being something deeply personal to self-care being something that you can buy through products. So I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a history lesson with you, if that's cool.
Yes.
And we can like talk it through and see also how that relates to you and your work and your art, because there's just, if you're looking for new waste inspiration, there's a lot out there. So self-care is a term originally caught on way back when as a medical concept. Doctors have been using it as a way to discuss patients back in like the early 1900s. Those patients were very much like ill and elderly. It was more about how do we manage people's illnesses, and that's how kind of self-care as a term was born. And self-care became very politicized in the 1960s, 70s and 80s as people of color and women began viewing controlling their health as imperative for them to be able to show up in spaces and thrive. A really famous quote by Audre Lorde that I might read out to you. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. That was from her 1988 essay collection, A Burst of Light. I think obviously you can't adequately like take care of anyone else's problems or address systemic injustice unless you're coming from a place of internal strength and health and vitality, was the thinking around self-care originally. So for people to show up for everyone else and create real lasting change, they had to take care of themselves through sleeping well, through eating well, through exercise and daylight, and all the kind of standard things. So it was never back then associated with product. So health is not the absence of disease. It's obviously something much bigger than that. It's more about how health can also be used to affect your life in other positive ways. It's not just like eliminating the stuff that's going to kill you. What do you do maybe to be healthy in your version of that?
I believe the things that you take in contributes a lot. So my family and I have consciously gone vegetarian. So we follow vegetarian diet, and we practice that. So certain things like that, it can vary. And it's so subjective as well. Something might not work for somebody else for n number of reasons. If I am able to be myself and present myself and be the happiest version of myself with that kind of thing, I think that would be the healthy practice that I can follow.
So health to you is, I guess, happiness in a way.
Happiness, yeah.
Over time, like self-care was really stripped of its political meaning as more privileged communities started to investigate and explore what wellness meant for them.
Yeah.
Originally, it was like hippies, and people were considered quite strange for thinking about self-care and wellness. And I want to show you this really funny video from a 60 Minutes episode that was filmed in 1979, where a reporter interviews a group of people that he frames to be a cult, who are just a group of people interested in fitness and health. So this is how far we've come in relation to how we think of wellness.
There's a word you don't hear every day. It means exactly what you might think it means. Self-care, in which patients are taught to diagnose common illnesses and, where possible, to treat themselves. More than that, it is a positive approach to health.
So that's kind of where we were in 1979, when people who popped their head above water and spoke about wellness were considered on the fringes of society. But then we enter like our Jane Fonda era, I like to call it, which is where we really started to begin to focus in a Western context on fitness and going to the gym and running club culture. The idea of taking care of oneself eventually did move through to the mainstream. And then as that moved through to the mainstream, I guess like brands and businesses started to capitalize off that. And now we're into today, where the wellness industry as a whole in 2023 was worth $6.3 trillion, which was up 25% from 2019 pre-COVID. So we've had a massive journey. It's so weird to think that once wellness was considered a strange, abnormal thing to discuss, and now is one of the leading forces of capitalism today. And I kind of wish we were still in our era where we considered self-care less about things that we bought and more about how we can show up for ourselves and then also show up for people around us in kind of deeper political context as well. So that's where we are right now. It's exhausting, isn't it?
Oh, and it's so strange that how this whole thing has evolved in the way that we are right now. And people somehow miss that point that it's more of like an internal thing than the outward or materialistic things.
You can't buy something and expect it to fulfill you.
Yes.
But that's what all these brands are trying to tell us each and every day. And then enter you, because as soon as I try that sheet mask and it doesn't do anything, or as soon as I try that herbal tea that's not really hitting for me, I mean, it just gets thrown out or recycled, and then enters your beautiful world of art?
Mostly it gets thrown out.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't all land on your desk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
I know.
But that's the sad and unfortunate truth. People could relate. Yeah.
I think as well, the wellness industry has always been considered to be tied to these social values, you know, like if you are engaging in wellness, you are also hopefully engaging with environmentalism and trying to buy more eco-friendly products. But oftentimes that's not actually really the case. The Guardian did this really interesting report around rose quartz crystals, which are, you know, the crystals that people have for wellness that are to ground them and to help them be more present, and they have different kind of purposes and meanings. Those items are so connected with nature, but a lot of them are mined unethically and are sourced in ways that damage the environment. So it's really funny how we're talking about wellness being connected with nature and your internal self, but actually when that's lived out in practice, it is just all commodified and oftentimes very detrimental to the environment.
I think social media has a lot to contribute on that, because we have so much of information around, and we can easily get carried away with so many aesthetic videos that we see all around.
And maybe that can also be applied to like not buying things, like not falling into that consumerist trap as well. It's like, oh, here I am scrolling and trying to see, you know, this new manifestation journal that I want to try, like, but it's like, do you really need that, or can I just like get a piece of paper and write it out? Does it need to be so glossy and perfect?
Yes.
And hopefully we can kind of catch ourselves out on those things.
Absolutely.
Before we do them.
Even the journaling thing, I've noticed I have a small thing in all the bags, most of the bags. It's just the tiniest little scrapbook. If I'm missing a scrapbook, I'm happy with one paper towel or one receipt. It's just my way of, in that moment, I might be writing something or doodling something. I can stick it on my proper sketchbook later. I don't need to buy another proper diary or scrapbook or journal. It would just lie there on my table.
Well, that's what I love. I think there's definitely links between your work and this massive movement, creative movement around junk journaling, which is using any kind of waste or thing that you find and giving it new life and meaning within a junk journal, and it tells your story. And it's such a fun process, and I think it embraces all the things we spoke about, which is like finding beauty in the mundane or even the disposable. I would love to understand more about like that as part of your mindset too, is like, one man's trash is another man's treasure. It's a terrible saying. But I think there's something interesting in your work, you're finding beauty in these items that other people think are no longer of use to them. Does that play out in your real life and your mindset?
Absolutely.
As well?
Yes. It's not just a practice, right? How we follow in a software field, I'm doing a coding. When I'm doing upcycling, it's not just a practice, right? Because it becomes part of you as well. The whole process of taking the less valued material or item and elevating that as a whole. So it's not just a routine, not just a methodological thing, I would say. It flows with you, and it becomes a practice for your own self, I believe.
Because we all love a bubble bath, we all love a bath bomb. How do we engage in some of the parts of self-care products that we do enjoy while also being like mindful and to our values as humans?
I guess what you said is the point, being mindful about the choices that we make.
I think like we have to stop thinking as our self-care as something that can be solved by external forces, whether that's other people or products or brands.
Most of the times it's the inward journey, asking yourself and giving time for yourself, knowing you better. All those things will help. And I'm still learning. I'm still there. It's not perfect all the time, but I do take conscious steps.
I think having a positive mindset can obviously be very challenging and is not always possible for people going through different mental health struggles. But I am curious as to if you are in a place where you can look to cultivate more of a positive mindset, what are the small things that you do to kind of bring that positive mindset out of you?
Again, it will be an internal journey. For me, back in India, we have a saying that every coin has two sides. It's just the same thing that applies in our life. Every coin has both sides, and there can be a positive side and a negative side for all aspects in our life. It's just the way that we think and how we perceive things, how we perceive the half empty bottle, or how we perceive the half when we are in a negative situation, or when we are in a situation which is hard for us. Just accepting that and riding that journey in a positive hope that we will get through it and there is something better. That's a hopeful thing, and that can be practiced, I believe.
Do you ever find that you catch yourself in a more negative headspace and then you like kind of have a word with yourself and you're able to bring it back to a more positive place?
Yes. At times, there will be, especially being a creative and in my early times of career, stepping down from a stable and well-paid career and choosing, at that time, I'm talking about 10 years back, and nobody knew, at least in my hometown, nobody knew what an artist do or how an artist work, or is that even a career. Even now, people doesn't know if that's a career. So at that time, I would push myself to make my point, or again, seeking for external validation. I somehow wanted to tell people that, no, I do work and make my point right. But then I chose, no, I just need to focus myself. I'm just losing that energy there.
Yeah.
And I would rather put that energy on polishing my skills and working more on myself. So there are times of self-doubt. There are times when every day would feel like, okay, this is not working out. I believe those are just phases. And if I am focused and if I know what I'm doing, I think I will get past that phase as well.
I think also as you get older, you prove to yourself, like resilience is proved, right?
Yes.
So it's like, this will pass. I'll come to a different headspace with this.
Yes.
The other thing is around energy. I think that's so true. I mean, a very simplistic view and book that I read ages ago, but I do think the premise of it still stands, is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. And it's speaking about where you place your energy, because you only have so much energy to place. So if you do choose to worry about what everyone else thinks about your career as an artist, and you're trying to place that, you know, get people to change their mind. It's like, first of all, you can't control people's thoughts, which is such a shame, but you can't.
Yes.
And second of all, like, you could be using that energy for things that will benefit your artwork, as you've
Absolutely.
said, or other areas of your life. So I think for me, what I've been thinking more about recently is kind of catching myself as I go into those places. Like, I'm simply deciding not to go down this rabbit hole, and I'm going to use this energy elsewhere. And it doesn't always work. You need to be in the right headspace for it. But I think as a general principle,
Yes,
it's good.
It's good.
So a key part of your practice is taking time to notice things and utilizing those objects in new and interesting ways, which obviously means being present in the moment and potentially being slower. A key new movement that we've seen in relation to wellness and self-care is the slow living movement, which I kind of want to get your thoughts on. So the slow living trend is a lifestyle that emphasizes intentionality, presence, and quality over quantity by slowing down the pace of modern life. I don't know about you, but I would love to slow things down a little bit. I felt so rushed for a few years, and I think it's so nice to kind of stop and reflect and be a bit more present and mindful. Do you feel like you have a slow pace of life?
I would love to have a slow pace. That's the way I could put. But then again, being a spontaneous person like I am, and being so restless at times when I am in that zone of creating, it's so hard for me to slow down. And but my process is kind of slow. So that is where I can compensate, because my art practice makes me sit down and follow some certain repetitive methods but that's again a form of slowing down for me. When I am doing my process or when I am in that studio time, it will be the repetitive form of cutting down plastics in certain forms and then assembling it together. So it's kind of structuring and restructuring things, which is in a much slower pace. But then again, I come to the reality after my studio phase, and then it will be all hustle and bustle.
I think, like with anything in relation to self-care and wellness, we can't work in absolutes anyway. Like, it's not realistic for us to be like, okay, all parts of our life, I want to adopt a slow living lifestyle, so everything I do must be slow. I think like if you can have pockets and moments of slowness and being present and mindful, that simply has to be good enough.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
I want to go through some examples of like what other people who are engaging with slow living recommend to do if you're looking to like try it out.
I would love to.
Let's start with one that's very similar to you, which is like slow hobbies.
Yes.
So knitting, coloring in, crafting, woodworking. Like I feel like you're already doing it.
Yes.
So like
yes.
you're
That's
all
a tick.
set.
That's a yes.
Tick. Well done. I do coloring in.
Yes.
So I feel that counts.
Right.
So that's lovely.
Lovely. Amazing.
Monotasking instead of multitasking is another thing. So essentially, I feel like you're stressed out about this one already. I feel like I've triggered you on this
yes.
already.
Yes.
Essentially doing one thing at a time versus like various things.
I'm a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a big time multitasker, but when it comes to my practice, I can focus only on this one.
If I said to you, outside of your practice, you had to only do monotasking from now on, what would happen?
It's going to be really tricky. It's like 10 hands, an extra hour and everything. I am a big time multitasker.
No, if it works for you, don't worry, you don't have to change it, Swapna. I'm not suggesting it. It's okay.
Just that question, I was like, oh my God.
I know. This is interesting. So one person suggests that physically doing things slower in an aim to find stillness. This, I think, is confronting for me. Eating slower? Like, that's so hard. Like, what? I just want to eat at the pace that I want to eat, but like, chew once.
No.
Chew again. Like, just
walking slower?
Yeah, no. Oh, no. That is too much for me.
Yes.
So, like, I just think that whole idea of, like, let's just turn it back. It's like my sister listens to podcasts in 1.5 speed. It's essentially doing everything in 0.5 speed.
Oh, no.
Terrible. And then it even says doing chores slower, like cleaning slower. And I'm like, you just want to get it done, girl.
I know, right?
Like,
but then
move
again, the whole we are missing out the whole point of, understanding yourself or your pace. You might
True.
have yes, and no, you're training yourself to become slower.
So true. Like, are we
So
doing
it's
these things to be more present and mindful of of ourselves and who we are in that moment, or are we doing these things to like
just for the sake of slowing down? No.
So what's interesting about slow living is that it could make you feel like, if you engage with slow living practices, like your life is longer. So let me read something out to you from one of the pioneers of the modern mindfulness movement, Jon Kabat-Zinn. Here we go. If you were really present with your moments as they were unfolding, maybe eating slower. If you were really present with your moments as they were unfolding, no matter what was happening, you would discover that each moment is unique and novel and therefore momentous. Your experience of time would slow down. I guess because if you're rushing through every single day, you don't have any memories and moments to like really hold on to. So I guess I agree with this.
Yes.
And I'd be curious to try it out.
I think that's so true. What I've noticed is when you just said, I drop my son to school, and that car drive, some days I get to see the most beautiful mornings, small things, just in that 5 minutes car drive. And that moment I just pause and think, oh, I feel so lucky to be here. So that's a slow pace. And there is some element of gratitude that comes in play as well. And it's so pretty and precious, and that you can cherish for a longer time. I think that's so true.
I think as well, if you were listening to a podcast in the car while you were doing that, you might not have had those thoughts and kind of been present in that moment in the same way. We've been chatting for a little bit now about these big concepts and really trying to understand where we went wrong with some of this self-care beliefs that we have that different products can solve all our problems around being well. And of course, I have to ask you what your little thing is.
I would say my little thing is definitely my small sketchbook and my little doodling practice without any fear, without any restrictions. I would just doodle whatever comes in there, and that would be my little thing. And it becomes like the way to explore your ideas and your style as well. So you don't need anything fancy to get started. Getting started is the part.
Being curious and getting started.
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't get afraid to experiment.
Yeah, and I think if you're not bound by other materials, you can kind of just see what you do with a blank piece of paper.
Yes.
And go from there.
Go from there.
Start your own form of art.
Yes.
New form of art.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on Little Things. It's been amazing to talk to you about the crazy self-care world that we live in, how it's been commodified, and how we can kind of unpack that by living a bit more consciously and considering what we buy and why. So thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much, Alice, for such a lovely conversation.
Oh, it's been so fun.
It was
I'm
fun.
coming to Adelaide soon.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I will.
I'm definitely going to take you around and show all the favorite spots.
Yeah, and your studio. And a custom piece from you.
Yes, that would be fun. And my studio wouldn't be that fun. It would be chaotic. But
that's
you're welcome.
We embrace mess.
Yes.
We embrace old items and we embrace mess.
Yes.
Oh, thanks, Swapna.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you.
Thanks to Bank Australia for making this episode of Little Things possible. If you're inspired like me to make sure you're living out your values across the little and big things in your life, look into banking with certified B Corp Bank Australia today and get your hands on one of their stunning new bank cards. They're made from 100% recycled plastic with 64% collected from coastal communities by Parley for the Oceans, and they are very, very nice looking. This episode of Little Things was executive produced by Alice Griffin, that's me, and Jana Anderson, and produced by Natasha Lau.